Well, everyone, today is another special day. We get to talk about another set of gaming consoles, and this was definitely one of the more interesting, I'm going to say this in every video, that it was the more interesting video, more interesting console, whatever the case is. But the PSP 3000 was one of the consoles that actually came out before the PSP Go. And what's funny is the PSP 3000, I actually bought it last year, and I never reviewed it. I just went and kept it. I don't know why I always do this, but the PSP 3000 is one of those more interesting consoles for sure, and we're going to talk about it, see how it holds up in 2020, see if you should buy it and all that stuff. Now, the PSP 3000, I'm just going to call it the 3000, or this PSP, I'm going to just say that. This PSP came out in 2008, and it kind of actually came out a year after the PSP 2000, and when it first came out, it was actually selling for about $300. Now, to give you perspective, right now in 2020, or actually back in 2019, I actually picked it up for about like $25. I think it was even cheaper than that, and it was in pretty much perfect working condition. There was really nothing wrong with it besides a few scratches, and that's always so crazy for me to see, is that, an older console like this, seeing the depreciation of it. And this was, like I said, the successor to the PSP Slim. And what's funny is technically the PSP Go was not replacing the PSP 3000, but it was kind of just, alongside of it, or maybe the higher end model, and that one was released in 2009. Now, I'm getting a lot of this information from PlayStationPortable.fandom.com. They gave me the same information for my PSP 2000 video, so shout out to them. They did a really great job in their website. Now, the PSP 3000 from the Slim actually had a better LCD screen, and it was 5 times the contrast ratio, half the pixel response, whatever that means, and all those different things. And the screen, I think, actually looked really decent on this phone. I've seen many comparisons between the 2000 and 3000 screen before I bought them both, but now that I have them both, there's actually a pretty big difference. And I would say it's kind of like comparing like an IPS panel to an OLED display. Obviously, there's not an OLED display in the 3000, but it definitely looks kind of like that when you're comparing them side by side. And that's definitely a cool advantage that 3000 has going for it. Now, there was also a new microphone for this thing. There was a new disc tray. There was a little bit of a new button design and logo change on this thing. And there was also anti-reflective technology to improve the outdoor playability, whatever that means. As you can see, I read that straight from the website. But really at the core, it was pretty much the same exact console. You can still play games on it. PSP games were really cool. It's not like this thing was a whole different console that, required different type of things like the PSP Go did. This thing at its core was pretty much the same. It was just an iteration to the whole entire thing. And at the time, it was pretty thin, and obviously one of its biggest competitors was the Nintendo DS, and I think still the DS was probably the better console overall, possibly, but that's weird too, because I think the 3000 was definitely one of the cooler consoles. Like, it still had so much going for it. There was just so much you can do on a PSP 3000 where even the Nintendo DS necessarily couldn't do it. And I'm a DS fan, I love DSs and all that, but there were still some cool advantages that the 3000 had going for it, to be honest. Now, the game selection would definitely be one of those things that many PSP 3000 people are going to talk about and they're going to hit on, and the PSP 3000 game selection was pretty crazy. I would still say the DS Lite had a pretty good run for it, but definitely without a doubt, there's so many PSP games, and one of the biggest advantages for the PSP is that the quality of those games are actually really good. Like I've stated before, the graphics on those games are very good for a portable console that came out in 2008, and without a doubt, I'll definitely tell you, just the quality of those games are very good. And the best thing about it, the games are very cheap now. You can go get a big, a box of games from this thing for like $40 probably, and get like 50,000 games in it if you want to. But this thing definitely, without a doubt, the game selection of this thing is one of the best things for it. However, I think probably a thing that tops that would definitely be the homebrew of this thing and the modifications that you can do with it. Now, there were a ton of different ways to modify this thing. There was, all those different things. You had to make like a jig and put it in and all that stuff. But the custom firmware was the core of all these different things. And when you install custom firmware on your PSP, and I've already done tutorials on how to do this, I think like 2 years ago, when you do that to a PSP, you will unlock so much from a device like this, and especially even back in 2009, you might have thought, oh, what are they going to do? There's not much they can do. Dude, there's still so much you can do with the modified PSP 3000 back in 2009, let alone in 2020, where all the past, basically everything everyone's been working on, all those things are still on the forums, are still online uploaded, so you can easily modify this thing. And on top of that, there still is quite a bit of community behind PSPs overall. There's still people homebrewing them, there's still people, creating new tweaks and creating new software for these type of gaming consoles, which is really cool. And how many gaming consoles in the world can you say that still has that type of community? If we look at even a lot of portable consoles, there's still, a little bit of community here and there, but the PSP series is thriving and the DS series is thriving still, which is awesome. And without a doubt, I'll definitely tell you, the PSP 3000 is still a very good console in 2020. I think obviously out of the whole PSP lineup, this one is probably the best one. Maybe the PSP Street, which I will be making a video about soon, and I don't even think a lot of people even know about that console. Well, I'll drop a video on that very soon, hopefully within the next like week or two. But the PSP 3000, one of my favorite consoles ever. I'm glad I owned it. I wish I made the review last year, but I was just so busy. I don't even know why. I wasn't even that busy. I was just like being lazy, I guess. Even though I was dropping like 2 or 3 videos a day. But I like this console. It has a lot going for it. And I really want PlayStation and Sony as a whole to make the PS Vita 2. I want them to release it. I want them to make it and then release it after. I think that one could have so many legs if they actually do something with it. The PSP series is great. The PS Vita, I think consoles were really decent. They just kind of flopped in terms of just marketing them and creating games for them and everything. But I guess we'll just see what happens in the future. But definitely without a doubt, I would highly recommend picking up a PSP 3000 in 2020. So that really pretty much covers it. If you guys have any other questions or anything, leave it down in the comment section below. Hit that like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys could hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel, all those links are linked down below. I'd really appreciate if you guys would check it out. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.